Alright guys, thanks for tuning in again. This is Michael from Tech Diffuse, and in this video I will show you how you can do string slicing in Python. Here we go. Alright, so we start with the same graphics as the last time. As you can see here, we have 2 times written Python, and the idea is when you do string slicing, it's similar to string indexing, like in the last video. So in string indexing, we have an index and we take a number, with a number a char from a word. And with string slicing, it's pretty much the same, only with 2 numbers. And to have a better understanding how that works, I have this graphical representation, and I would start by putting in the indices. So if we have the index 0, we get the first word, in this case the P. The index 1, we get the second word, the 2, 3, 4, and 5. So once again, as in the last video, a string in this case is 6 characters long, but the index goes from 0 to 5. So this is typical in computer programming. We always start counting by 0, so don't get confused. 0 to 5, and the string length is 6 in total. Okay, and this also works backwards. So if we have the index -1, we get the last char in the word. -2, we get the previous, -3, 4, and so on. Okay, -6. So just align them. Okay, and the reason for that is, if you notice, if you go in the right direction, we start with 0. If we go into the left direction, we start with -1. The reason is, you may ask, okay, why do we start with -1? Why don't we start with -0? The problem is, the programming language can't distinguish between 0 and -0. So 0 and -0 is the same, and this is the reason why we start with -1 if we go backwards. So keep that in mind. And backwards direction is -1 to -6 in this case with the word Python, and in forward direction is 0 to 5. Okay, so we have that in place. Then let's start with the actual slicing. As I said, we take the word Python again as our example. So we define a variable. Word is Python. We print out the word. Okay, so much, nothing has happened. Nothing special, we have Python printed out. That's good. Okay, the idea with string slicing is we put, as I said, 2 integer numbers, and we put a substring of the string. We print out a substring of the actual string. And this works like this. I will make it in the scheme first. We have our word, and we have the squared brackets, and we put in the first index, colon, and the second index. All right. And now it gets a bit tricky, because the first index is always included, and the second index is always excluded. Okay, what I mean by that? We make an example. We make a print statement, we write our word, we make those brackets, and we say we go from 0 to 2. Okay, so before I hit compile, let's think about for a moment. We start with 0, 0 is equal to P, and we end with 2. 2 is equal to T. Alright, so we go from P, Y, and T. But as we said, the first index is included, and the second index is excluded. So what happens? P is included, Y is included, T excluded. So we expect as a string, as output, P and Y. And this is exactly what happens. We have P and Y printed out. This is pretty much everything you need to know about string indexing in a box. It's a very easy way in Python to have substrings of a string. And to make some more examples, we can do this further. For instance, we make a copy and we put in a 1 here. So we have 0 and 1. But we know that the first one is included and the second one is excluded. So we expect only the P to be printed out. And this is exactly what happens. And you can do this further. The third one, so from 0 to 3, from P to H. So we have P, Y, and T. This is right. 4 to the H, because the O is excluded. And let's see what happens if we put length here. Length of the word. So length of the word is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This means we go from 0 to 6. And what happens now is we get the complete word printed out. So this is a convenience method in Python with string slicing. The second parameter can be also bigger than the string. For instance, if I put here like 1000, we still get Python printed out. This is a difference in contrast to indexing. If you remember, in indexing, when we used a bigger index than the actual string, it won't compile. It gave us a range error, index out of bounds, something like that. And you keep in mind, this is really possible here. Okay, this also works if you put another number than the 0 at the first. So for instance, if we want to have T, H, O, and N printed out. So we know 2 is included, and 5 is excluded, so we can put 6 here, and there you go, T-H-O-N. Or to make it even more easy, let's say, again, length of the word. So this always delivers us the last char of the word, if you put lang word here. This is a nice and convenient trick you can use to be able to have just the appendix of a word, if you will. Okay, so you might ask yourself now, why have the developers of Python made this like this? So why do we have the first number included and the second number excluded? And the reason why for this is they want to be sure that if you add the two substrings together, it always delivers the complete word. Okay, so what I mean by that. Let's take our word again. We have our word, and we have, for instance, 2. We omit the first one. We have colon 2, and we add, again, the word. And now we interchange. We have 2 here, and remove the 2 here. We execute, and we have still printed out Python. So this is a design idea from the developers again. If you put it like this, it always defaults to the actual word itself. Keep that in mind. So this obviously works with every possible number in the string. So if we have, for instance, 1 here, we have Python. If we have 0 here, we have Python, and so on. Okay, so now think for a moment, if we don't combine these two words, if we don't concatenate these two words, what will happen if we have only one word? So let's test it out. Okay, for instance, we have this one. We have word, no index at the front, colon, and a 5. Okay, we know 5, it goes to the N, and exclusive, and here we have no information. So let's see what happens. Okay, we get Python without the N. So this means we started by 0 and go to exclusive 5. And this is exactly what happens. So if you don't put a number in the first bracket, it defaults to 0. So this is the same as if we write 0. So let me show that again. 0, 5 and no value 5. And there you go, we have Python and Python. Yeah, this is one of the design decisions from the developer to make it more convenient to you, to have a little bit less to write, if it's clear what you want to write. And a similar thing you can do with the second char. So once again, we have the first char, we take the 2, for instance, and we omit the second index. So we have the t as our number 2, and the last index is undefined, and let's see what happens. And we get thon. So we go from the second index to the last one. And this can only mean that we have something like a longer value than the actual string. And it's much more easy. It defaults to the length of the string. So this one is the same as if we write lang word. And you can see we have 2 times thon. So this is also a convenient method from the developers of Python. If you omit the second index, it is equal to length of the word you want to slice. And if you omit the first one, it is like the start. It's the first character of the word. And then you can do something like this. And you have the word printed out. Because this, if you omit both indices, it defaults to 0 and length of word. And there you go, we have exactly the same word written here. That's all about. And to make it a bit more interesting, you can also do slicing with negative numbers. Okay, so what does it mean? For instance, let's put a negative number here. -2 and nothing. So what will happen? Okay, we have O and N printed out. So what does that possibly mean? Okay, in this case it means we take the left one here, we start by -2, we have the O included, and we go to the length of the string. And the length of the string in this case is the rest of the string. So we have O, N, and then we're good. You have to read it something like this. O, N, and to the end of the string. So if we put here 6, we have the first character from behind, number 6, -6, end of the string. So we expect here to be written Python. This is exactly what it is. And instead of 6, you can also write, for instance, here word. There you go. This is how you can calculate with negative numbers in string slicing. Okay, so go back to a number. For instance, we take -5. And then as a second parameter, we take -1. So what do you expect now? Okay, once again a hint. -5 means we start with y and including and -1 means we're at the n. So we have y, t, h, o, n. N is exclusive, so we expect there to be written y, t, a, t, h, o. And there you go. This is exactly what happens. This is a way of using negative numbers, negative indices in string slicing. Okay, so imagine for a moment what happens if we change those numbers. For instance, we have -1 and -5. What do you expect now? Okay, so one hint. What we're telling Python here, let's go from -1 to -5. So the start, we always start from the left to right. So on the outer left is the 1, and we go to the right to -5. And the result here is nothing. And this is correct, because as I said, we go always from the left to the right. And since this is not possible here, since -5 is more to the left on this line than the starting character, it doesn't make any sense. And this is also the reason why there's nothing printed out. And by the way, this is also the same with positive indices. So if we say we start by 4 and go to 1, we have the 4 here, the O, and go to 1, we print it out, and we have nothing. Because we go again from left to right, so the left outermost starting point is the 4, and we want to go to the right, but it's not possible because the 1 is more left on the line than the number 4. So the result is that Python cannot create a substring out of it, and this is exactly what happens. We get an empty string. Another way to make indices is, for instance, this. We have the 1 in front and we have -2 in the back. What do you expect now? Okay, this gets a bit more tricky. 1 means we start by the Y including, and -2 means we end by the O. So in this case, what I just said, we move from left to right, doesn't work. But in this case, you have to imagine the graph like this. Let me make it so, and so. Okay, maybe this makes it a bit more clear. 1 is here, and -2 is here. We only look at the right part of this graphic. Again, 1 equals to Y, and -2 equals to O. So we go from Y, T, H, O. O is excluded, so we expect there to be written Y, T, H. And let's print it out, and this is exactly what happens. And yeah, so much for slicing in Python. And as I said, to handle strings in any computer programming language is an immense important task. I mean, you always have to handle strings in some way. Usually you have to work with full-blown libraries that are not really easy to handle, that are pretty complicated. They have a hard to understand syntax. And here in Python, you have a very easy syntax to do substringing, and you can use it out of the box. It's delivered directly to you. And this is a great thing for us programmers, because we always deal with strings in one way or another. So keep that in mind. Learn the basics and yeah, have fun with programming. Okay, that's pretty much it for slicing in Python. I hope you understand everything. If not, tell me in the comments, write me. I will make some more examples. I know this is it can be difficult if you don't grasp it, but do some examples and it will come to you. I'm pretty sure. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe as always. If you want to know more about programming, visit my website techdifuse.com, and see you guys in the next video.